Hey there, and welcome to this explainer on Year 7 Biology, Fundamentals of Biological Systems. Today, we're unpacking the core curriculum that attempts to answer, honestly, one of science's most profound mysteries: what actually sets living organisms apart from the inanimate universe around us? We're going to use the exact roadmap laid out in our source text to unpack the structure, the function, and the overarching life processes that define literally all living things.
So, how do we actually understand the life processes of living organisms? It's a massive question, isn't it? When we step into the world of biology, especially at this foundational level, we aren't just here to memorize the names of random plants or animals. We're trying to answer this specific, fundamental question: what is it that actually makes a thing alive? How do we even measure life? How do we observe and categorize those invisible, dynamic actions that sustain existence? Keep this central question right in the back of your mind, because everything we unpack today is specifically designed to answer it. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, the core framework: structure, function, and life processes. Structure and function. You know, in the context of living organisms, these two concepts interlock perfectly, kind of like gears in a totally complex biological machine. The structure is the biological architecture. It's how an organism is physically built, right? From its microscopic cellular components all the way up to the macroscopic body you can see with your own eyes. It's basically the anatomical blueprint. But, well, structure alone doesn't mean much without function. Function is what those structures are actually meant to do. It's the whole purpose behind the architecture. In biology, the way a living thing is put together directly dictates what it can actually achieve. We have to look incredibly closely at this relationship to truly grasp how organisms operate in their day-to-day existence. But here's the thing: structure and function alone are really just a static blueprint. The engine actually running under the hood relies on life processes. Biology is completely dynamic. We're not just looking at a stationary snapshot of an organism in a textbook here. Life processes represent the continuous, ongoing actions that actively define a living entity in our Year 7 studies. So, while structure and function tell us how an organism is built and what its individual parts do, life processes encompass the active, continuous series of events that keep that organism alive over time. This is the true pulse of our biology study. Moving on to Section 2, the magic number, decoding Standard 1.2. The curriculum distills this massive conceptual framework into Standard 1.2. It asks us to understand how the 7 shared characteristics relate to a wide range of organisms in the local and the wider environment. It's a really dense, highly focused directive. It literally packs a massive conceptual punch, condensing the vast complexity of biological study into just a single governing sentence. As learners analyzing this framework, our entire objective is encapsulated right here. Now, at the absolute crux of this standard is the number 7. Just think about the sheer scale of that task for a second. We're talking about categorizing the millions of different species on Earth, from a massive blue whale all the way down to a microscopic bacteria, and somehow distilling the absolute essence of their existence down to exactly 7 specific traits. No way, right? But this magic number represents the universal criteria for life. If we're trying to determine if something is a living organism, we hold it up against this very specific 7-point framework. It provides incredible clarity and structure to our biological studies. So instead of being completely overwhelmed by the chaos of nature, we just return to this foundational number. But remember, these aren't just isolated traits. They are shared characteristics. And that is where the real biological magic happens. Think about the incredible diversity of life for a second. A towering redwood tree, a microscopic amoeba, a human being. On the surface, these living things couldn't possibly look or act more differently. Yet, at their fundamental core, they all share these exact same characteristics. This concept unites all living entities under one giant biological umbrella. It teaches us that despite vast differences in physical structure, the foundational blueprint of life is, for sure, a universally shared experience. Which brings us to Section 3, the scope of life, from local to wider environments. The source actually mandates applying this to a wide range of organisms, and this requires massive scale. Biology at this level isn't just about studying, a single pet dog or one type of houseplant and calling it a day. The curriculum requires that we cast a really wide net. We need to take our understanding of life processes and those shared characteristics and test them against a diverse, vast variety of living things. We need to see exactly how these universal rules manifest in completely different biological forms across the entire spectrum of life. So, this creates a really vital geographical juxtaposition: the local environment versus the wider environment.
We start by looking right in our own backyards, our local parks, the immediate ecosystems we interact with every single day. We identify the shared characteristics in the plants and animals right outside our window, but we definitely don't stop there. We then contrast that with the wider environment, the vast, broader ecosystem spanning the globe. By comparing the local organisms to the wider ones, we gain a true macro-level understanding of just how adaptable and incredibly resilient these living systems are across every single corner of the Earth. Which brings us to a final, compelling thought. How do these 7 shared characteristics relate to the organisms in your own environment? I want to turn this entire biological framework right back over to you. As soon as we finish this explainer, I challenge you to look at your own surroundings with completely new eyes. Take a walk outside today and actively filter what you see through the lens of structure, function, and those shared life processes we've laid out. Biology isn't just a concept that lives in a curriculum document. It's happening dynamically all around you. So, what biological connections can you decode in your own local environment right now?